99 and all are here. So far, in the last 1 year, at least 20 plus people would have contacted me in person, personally, saying that there is some kind of a disturbance in their career because of the two-letter. What is the two-letter? AI. I'm also into kind of a AI field related, but in a different side. But I don't see any one of the 20 here today. I'm a bit surprised because see, you need help. The help doesn't come just like that. It doesn't come and land in your, it comes in different ways. You'll have to go, you'll have to rub shoulders with people in AI. You'll have to listen to knowledgeable people in AI because nobody is able to predict. It is such a storm. Nobody is able to predict. Even the person who said, who's behind the ChatGPT, Sam Altman, he says that he says something every day. He himself is confused. So people have to come and be part of a crowd, intelligent crowd. Then only things will happen. I know this message has to go through to your sons and grandsons. Everybody is disturbed in some way or the other, positively or negatively by AI. But they have to be in the crowd where AI is discussed. It cannot be taken lightly. That is what the message which I get as a layman. I'm not a techie into AI. So I'm taking enough time, 6 minutes plus. So thank you very much for being with us, for listening to our invite call and being here. I know your presence makes a difference to us, and we are very happy to serve you in the future like this. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to request Kalilur himself to cover the introduction of Subri to all of you. Before that, I request Mr. Balamohan, 85 batch, who is the Executive Director, Balamurugan, Executive Director of HCL Technologies, to honor our chief guest, Subra. He is a director in HCL Technologies.
Super personality.
I request Karnan, our treasurer, to honor Kalilur Rahman. Karnan will also introduce Kalilur after honoring.
Both are batchmates.
Actually, Kalilur Rahman, I are the same batchmates, 1996. I am actually a civil engineer and he is a computer science batch. So it's a different yardstick for me. Actually, in the batch, he is a very techie. He delivers, he helps each of the batchmates if it's any technical help. He's recently, he has been with the global giant Novartis as its technical lead and director as a technical lead, and he has also worked in different fields across telecommunication, healthcare and technology. And he is a technocrat and he is ranked globally number 3 by top thought leaders by Thinkers 360. He is an architect of AI-driven quality engineering framework, published various technological books. He is an active quizzer since the college times and he has won many laurels to the CIT. and he's a research scholar in business, analytical and management. And he's still pursuing his dream of being a doctorate, and he is enrolled in Amrita Institute of Management for his doctorate degree. He has 482 certifications, 150 published articles, 80 plus apps, and all of a sudden he could publish in our group saying 15 apps have been created overnight. So he's just a technocrat who just keeps on learning and keen to do newer things. And the scaling capability centers, governing enterprise, AI, or mentoring next generation of leaders. His thought line is consistent. Strategy meets execution from whiteboard to production. And Khalil is a very humble, and he's from a humble background, and he is always helpful to everyone. Thank you. He is Khalil.
Okay, now without taking more time, over to Kalilur. Kalilur, kindly cover introduction of Subri in your talk.
Thank you. Thanks a lot first to Kannan for such a honoring. Whether I deserve, that's a separate. Coming to our chief guest, he's a lot more accomplished and he's an achiever. And based on some of the folks I had an input, he was one of the toppers of the 1988 batch, and he went to do his master's in computer science at Clemson University. After that, he worked with lots of big giants. When NCSA Mosaic became Netscape, you must have heard Mark Andreessen and all. He started, that was his second stint at Netscape. He was working for Netscape, and one of the search engine which got totally dismantled by Google, Lycos. He worked for Lycos. That's another big tech company. These are one of the household names in the late 90s and early 2000s, and he also worked for Sun Microsystems and Oracle. He started a couple of startups, and he worked with the big financial transformers, including one which was started by the first trillionaire. He worked for eBay and also Intuit, and he worked for another company which got acquired by Google, which is an integration company, APG. And then after that, he has been working with Visa as VP and then as an SVP for last few years. And he's a very technical author. He had published a book on cloud security and privacy. I hope he's going to write one on AI security and privacy in the future. It's a privilege and an honor for me to introduce Mr. Subri to all of you. How I will do this is probably I'll start with some stats, and then we would have a Q&A, on-set questions. I know there are three generations here. One who are already accomplished and retired and who are keen to give guidance to their kids and grandkids and also keen to learn AI and how can they be productive and become another AI-enabled second career technocrat like our own Mr. Andaman Krishnamurthy, or guide the youngsters. That's the first group. The second group is the technocrats and technologists and engineers, both IT and non-IT, who want to absorb the impact of AI and leverage the benefit AI possesses and leverage it. And the third one is the most young and promising, how you can adapt the changing world when it comes to AI, and how can you shape up your career and how can you be future ready. So it's a wide and diverse audience we have. So our goal is to address all the three groups, right? So we'll try to do a good job. We do have some question, content to discuss. First, I will probably start off with some data points. There are plenty of data points, but
So Khalil, before you go into the questions, right? Let me take 2 minutes. Yeah. First of all, I'm privileged and honored to be here, especially with multiple generations and super achievers of CIT, right? I'm very inspired to be here, and I'm glad that PSR reached out to me Sunday, and like anything we do, CIT, right? We do it with excellence. Within a week, the vision became execution, right? PSR, thank you so much. That's how we do in CIT, right? We look at the, even though it may look like a further dream, right? We make it happen. And that's in our DNA. And I'm so happy that, we're able to get this pull off in a very short notice. And number two, right? Again, I'm privileged and honored to be here because of the fact that at Visa, AI is so key to everything we do. So hopefully we can touch on that. And number three is, PSR, he talked about the reach, right? He was talking about not too happy about getting the right audience here. I would say small is mighty. Okay. High quality is, more critical than, having a large audience. A funny story I want to share. So my daughter got married last Sunday, and my in-laws, my brother-in-law and sister came from Coimbatore. They were going on a train back to Coimbatore, and it happens to be that there were two more CATians in the same compartment. And then at that time, my brother-in-law was saying, look, my brother-in-law is also from CIT, and he said, yeah, we know, because he said PSR had sent a message on the WhatsApp group, and they already know about me and what I'm going to be speaking about. So I think even though we may not see everybody here, people are connected, right? And they're tuning in. Perhaps at some point this becomes a YouTube video and they can learn from the session. So I'm happy that this is a first step, and I'm sure you're going to do many more of these. That's going to make it much more impactful. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great way to start with a nice story and the impact of technology. So probably I'll read out some numbers. We heard about Sam Altman, and ChatGPT is already reaching 1 billion plus users globally. That's nearly 1/7 of the world. And on a daily basis, there are about 2.5 billion prompts into, and a lot of searches are getting cut. Google is moving away from searches to Gemini and ad. SEO, search engine optimization, has become AEO now, right? So there are a lot of transformation. And when it comes to investment, there's about 242 billion invested in AI related company, right? And OpenAI alone had 122 billion, and Anthropic another 30 billion, and most of the future trillionaire and top companies are all likely to come from the AI fold. And then when it comes to AI infrastructure and building, there's close to 725 billion invested, right? And Amazon alone is investing 200 billion. Everyone wants to build their own data centers. There's a lot of side effects on it. I will not touch upon it. And no one thought a chip company would become the first $5 trillion company. NVIDIA, whose founder was, he did a lot of jobs, including cleaning, cleaning the utensils, and he was also a janitor, right? Jensen Huang, right now is a so that tells how, people can grow from very humble to being the world leaders. And there's also one major challenge with regards to AI data centers, like about 12% of the US power goes to AI data center, and it's expected to go up to 25% in some places like Virginia. And you must have heard about Vizag data center, 1 gigawatt. That's a huge announcement, lot of investment, but there's a lot of side effect. Actually, I published a paper on it yesterday. I don't want, if you're interested, I can share some of the details on it. So there's a lot of cascade effect in terms of AI data center and growth and circular economy. And when it comes to the jobs and economy, some of the publications, well, it's going to add $15.7 trillion to global economy. AI is going to address, and it's about 14% uplift from an earlier published number by PwC. And year-on-year productivity, another 4.4 trillion. That's more than current Indian GDP on a yearly basis getting added to global economy. And one point which a lot of people were concerned about, job displacement. Yes, 92 million jobs are going to be displaced. And that's not all. It's going to add 170 million jobs. That means technically it's adding 78 million jobs. AI is not a job displacer. It's just going to add more jobs. Only thing is you need to find skills and grow skills to be the ones who are in demand. right? And there will be skill shift. About 40% needs to move from what they used to do to what they will be doing. That means a skill shift and skill transformation is important. That's what you see in a lot of companies. And many places, there's a layoff and all those things. Those who can't reskill are let go. Those who are reskilling and showcasing, they are given better and newer opportunities. Right? And there's a lot of tool evolution and a lot of transformation happening. And there's also cybersecurity aspect, because that's going to be our core discussion. I will probably start off with, that first. We introduced you, Subra, but from, we want to hear it from horse's mouth, right? Can you please introduce yourself, your journey in cybersecurity, and also your venture into AI? We'll start with.
Again, I think amazing facts, right? I think we are living, this is for all of us, right, in this room, we're living in a revolution similar to what happened with Industrial Revolution. It's much, much bigger than, think about what happened when the horse-driven buggies became cars, right? That's that same, we are the exact same phase. Even though we are hearing a lot about ChatGPT, we haven't even reached that first. If you look at the 5-day cricket match, we're probably in the first day, right, of AI. And my boss used to tell me that we are like the iPhone 1 version, right? Think about, that is where, even with all the innovation that happened over the last 3 years, we are very early days of AI, but it is going to change every one of us in the room, the way we think about how we do our personal day-to-day work, how you plan for vacation as an example, or how you plan for, working with your, friends and family. Every one of this is going to have impact with AI. And we have to now figure, like I said, how do you really get adapted? So, it's really about survival of the fittest, how fast we can adapt. People who are not able to adapt will be left behind, right? That's the key message. You have to know where the, in US we have a term called where the puck is going. Puck means like a hockey puck, right? You have to go in that direction. The same idea here. So we are at the very early days of the AI revolution, so to speak. And I would say in my, I'm part of Visa, and Visa was ranked as number 2 by Fortune magazine for adopting AI. Google was number 1, Visa was number 2 in adopting, right? And part of the reason was we saw the writing on the wall, right? If you don't move now, Visa will not exist. It's a threat for not just technology, it's a threat for the business model, right? Every business model is going to be challenged. So we said, okay, we have to go all in and figure out how we use AI. It could be for improving user experience. It could be for creating new products that we never imagined before. It could be for defending and protecting our customers. Visa, we have 4.5 billion users in this world, right? And thank you for all of you using Visa, not MasterCard. Right? So because, we are here to, enable financial inclusion, ensure that currency, remove the currency from people and use digital movement. So from a cyber standpoint is also very, very critical, because AI is going to make it so easy for anybody, like in the bad actors, the threat actors, the fraudsters. If I don't move now, some guy sitting in Russia, North Korea, Iran, they can use AI and easily attack and be able to penetrate Visa. My job as a Visa is to ensure every citizen data that we have, we have 4.5 billion users, they are protected. You can have the trust that if you pay with Visa card, we will ensure that we'll cover you even with a fraud, right? So cybersecurity is what we're calling as essential cornerstone to protect every consumer. And AI, if I don't leverage AI to defend myself, within the company is 60-year-old. It's not like Google came in 2000 time frame, right? Visa was founded 60 years back, and within a second things can change. If there is an incident, and say, hey, Visa is not secure, right? People immediately will go to MasterCard or Amex. So my CEO understands that and says, cybersecurity is job number one. It doesn't matter, I can innovate on AI, but if you don't do your job, I can't, make money, right? So it's such a critical, and given the fact that AI can be used or abused, it's called dual use, right? It can be weaponized. It can be used for good use, also can be used for bad use, right? And that's why every government is scared. So I go to White House every 6 months. I work with the Treasury. So when this new model called Mythos, I'm not sure how many of you heard about Mythos, came out, immediately White House called a meeting and called my CEO and said, hey, the 30 different CEO from the US, we want to ensure that you guys get access first before Anthropic releases the model to anybody. Because they realize that this model called Mythos is so powerful, within seconds, it can discover all the weakness in your ecosystem. It'll understand exactly what vulnerability you have in your network, in your infrastructure, in your product. And this type of things, right, to discover, it would take years sometimes, months. You have to have really, think like a hacker and be able to understand what is the weakness in your ecosystem. But AI can do it in seconds. So now suddenly, like, hey, how do I make sure this model is only used by, good guys, right? So this Mythos has happened on April 8th. In the last 2 months, every day, I get news about new model coming up. So OpenAI released another model called GPT 5.5 Cyber, and they are saying it's better than Mythos. So we're going to see if you think about last 10 years, we will get new innovation every other week. Every iPhone will come every year. Samsung will innovate something different. But AI, the innovation is happening so fast. If you're not keeping up to date, you're left behind, right? So my job is to ensure, as a defender of Visa, to use the best technology and be able to say that I can stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of the bad guys. So now, a little bit of how I got to be where I am today. As I said, my first job was in a university, and then I joined a company called Netscape. This was 1995. That was the very first browser. If you think about how to access internet. Before that, there was America Online. It was much more old technology. So when Netscape, I had an opportunity to go work for Netscape, they told me, hey, we have all of this firewall. These are network technologies that will protect Netscape. Can you help manage it? So that was my first foray into cybersecurity. At the time, cybersecurity as a word did not exist. It was called information security. And I immediately jumped in and I became an expert in firewall. And then I realized that you need a certain mindset to run security. It's like being a cop, right? You have to always think negative, right? So it's like being pessimistic versus optimistic. And so I started developing that personality, right? Hey, if I don't do this, somebody will hack me. So from that point, I expanded my expertise into other technologies, including cloud. So when cloud computing came up, it was in 2005, was when Amazon initially started this business called Amazon Web Services. And at that time I was at Sun Microsystems. So I realized cloud is going to change everything. Until then, there was no cloud, right? You have to buy all this expensive machines from IBM, Dell, and you have to create a data center, and it takes millions of dollars. With cloud, you can immediately get started, right? But what I realized was they did not pay attention to security. I spoke to Amazon, I spoke to Microsoft, I spoke to Salesforce. They said, no, we'll talk about security, but now it's very important for everybody to use the product. So, and then I said, I need to educate the masses and I wrote the book called Cloud Security and Privacy to say, by the way, it's great that you can go to cloud, but you know it's secure. Somebody can get you access to your data if you're leaving the front door open, side door open, back door open, right? So from that point, I moved on to other companies like Intuit, and every one of them, it was about my focus on cyber, and so cyber security is like going to a university. You cannot learn this as in 1 year or 2 years, right? There are so many domains. Compared to a developer who's writing code in Java or Python, cybersecurity, you have to know many things. So I enjoyed that, the multi-domain learning, and then I was able to connect the dots, right? So it's really about, every time I think about is, what am I not doing well in cybersecurity? Because if I leave that one crack open, the bad guys are going to come in. So in Visa, we call it that phrase as a chief paranoid officer. So the two traits we tell them, when I hire people in cybersecurity, I tell them, are you pessimistic and paranoid? And that's what I'm going to test you, right? Because, you can be a great coder, but if you don't have that thinking of how things can be hacked in, everything else doesn't matter.
That's a great. We always thought chief product officer and procurement officer. Now we have another term, chief paranoid officer. You touched upon mythos, and I wanted to ask. Now mythos found a lot of bugs, like 25-year-old bugs and all those things. That's very dangerous, and all the countries are also starting to prepare whenever they are going to launch. And like you mentioned, OpenAI released 5.6 Altera Luna just recently also. So the question is now the evolution is so fast, and all the frontier models and the players are launching something new, and also there's also an evaporation of the white labeled wrapper companies going out of play, like Chegg and all those companies. So in terms of the disruption, it's going to cause a lot of disruption to those small companies and small players who thrive on adding value-added services. So that's one sector that's getting impacted. My question, coming back to Visa and the type of services Visa does, and obviously along with pharma and other companies, Visa risk management was very important. So machine learning, all those things were leveraged for ages in fintech companies. So my question is, with the evolving technology and models, how are you keeping up? It's always, riding, what, for lack of better term, there's a concept in Alice in Wonderland where someone is keeping on running, right? I forgot the term, but when asked, the person replies, in order to be at the same place, we need to run twice as fast. It's like running in a treadmill. So when it comes to technology companies, that's what it's. You keep on running, in a treadmill to stay where you are. And so the question is twofold. One, how companies like Visa are keeping up and addressing these threat actors and challenges. And two, how things are evolving and what would be a good advice, especially for the younger audience here, when it comes to preparing themselves for the future. You mentioned one excellent point about being paranoid, curious, being vigilant. That's important. In addition to those, what would be additional advices you would give to them?
So the first question is, how do we keep up, right? And this is where innovation, the focus on how fast you can release a new feature or try out something new. So we have events like Hackathon, right? Hackathon is an event where, we open it up for an entire company to come up with ideas, right? Because we always say that innovation happens because it's coming up from a grassroots, not because we are going and telling them to do something different. So having a culture of innovation and encouraging them to come up with ideas. So each of these hackathon runs for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, what can you do, right? Because a lot of times if you tell them, if you go ask somebody, hey, I'll give you 3 months, can you come up with idea? Yeah, they'll say 3 months. If you say 6 months, they'll say 6 months. But if you say 2 weeks, they'll do it 2 weeks. right? So this is the mindset. So we said in 2 weeks, how fast can you come up with an idea? And can you experiment with actual product? Something that can be demoable, not PowerPoint, right? Just something useful. So we do things of that nature to encourage to come up with new ideas. And we have done, we have taken some of these products that was designed in 2 weeks to all the way to production to show that this can be a real product, right? And I have in my own area, I issue something called CSO challenge. So this quarter, I'll say this quarter, the CSO challenge is to solve how fast I can discover vulnerabilities or how fast I can actually create intelligence and be able to share it with everybody in the company, right? So we will throw new certain concepts and what distinguishes, right, in terms of younger generation, and we are seeing that, we are so used to having a experienced thinking, right? Because you grow because you learn, you experiment, and you create skills, and that takes years, right? But now the younger generation coming into the workforce, especially think about in 2027, people who graduate from college, they are the first generation of 100% AI natives. 2023, they got into the university. ChatGPT was announced on November 2022. 23, 24, 27, they will be all AI native. They will think very different than how I would think about creating a project, putting resources around it, forecasting how many days or months it's going to take, or what is the risk of not able to do some things. And so what I'm seeing is that the younger generation is much more hands-on, and they're able to come up with some solution much faster. Now, what differentiates people like us is the wisdom, right? The experience that we have. I know cybersecurity is something you cannot learn overnight. But what I'm doing is I'm taking one person out of college, coming out of college, and we hire everybody here, right? Including CIT. In fact, I met an intern in Bangalore from CIT. This year I hired 50 interns. No, overall. And only one came from CIT. But there were other colleges, we did across India. And so they're so energetic, right? Now, the guys are like, who've been in a role for 15 years, 20 years, right? They don't have that, sometimes they do, but most of the times they don't have the mindset, hey, let's try something new, right? So my idea is to take one college grad and one person who's 15 years experience, put them together in one team. So the guy who has the most experience will say, hey, I have this idea, but I don't know how to execute. The college grad say, hey, look, I'm going to show you how to. I'll install a Claude or OpenAI Codex or Gemini anti-gravity, and I can quickly do a prototype. So this is how it's going to happen, right? Because the experience still matters, but you have to adapt to the new technology much faster. My son graduated from UCLA in US, and within 2 years, or less than 2 years, he quit. He had 2 jobs. He quit both, and he has a new startup. And he says, and he and his friend, both of them came together, and they're doing a startup in AI. He says, I don't need more than 5 people in my company. Because of the fact I can do a lot more than what previously you had to get funding, $10 million funding, you're going to hire people, in US, India. But now what they're imagining is there could be a corporation with 2 people with $1 billion valuation. Okay, so now that's the mindset, hey, I can actually go create value. And I think back to your point on creating new jobs, we need more of that of 2 people companies. Okay, now we cannot wait for Narayana Murthy to start Infosys and grow to 100,000 employees or 500,000 employees. We're going to see a lot of micro corporations. And micro corporations who can actually move very fast, who can learn from customer feedback quickly, iterate quickly with AI, and deliver value at much higher scale, right? So we're going to see a shift It's like, think of cottage industry, right? Where there are people doing, if you go to Coimbatore, there are people with lathe in the house. Same concept with AI. So but how do you do that for the younger generation? Is really be able to use AI and differentiate themselves. So there was a saying that AI will not take your jobs, but if you don't know how to use AI, you lose jobs to somebody who knows how to use AI, right? So, and again, I do the, I was when I joined Netscape back in '94, I was a developer. But over the last 30 years, I stopped writing code. I don't write code. I'm not a developer, right? Because there are a lot of complexity in writing software. But now, I'm back to where I am in 88, in 90s. I can use AI to write code. So every one of the, in this room can now become a software engineer, because you just tell AI in English what you want, and it will write the application. So that's where, again, we are in the first day of the 5-day test match. But we're going to see this significant evolution happening. But the key point I want to emphasize is be able to keep up with the technology like ChatGPT and keep experimenting, and that will pay dividends for you in the longer term.
Thanks. Probably my view on what you said, probably we are before lunch of the first day of the test match, but we are playing 2020 when it comes to technology. The way game is played is 2020 for 5 days. So thanks, and you touched a point about the AI native. My daughter is in her final year also, but she didn't buy a single book. Basically everything is all digital, and like you mentioned, ChatGPT and whatnot. When it comes to what you would look for in the profile or the talent that you would like to hire, what are the actual skills that you would look for in college graduates? And more than the skills, are there any soft skills and leadership qualities that you look for, in the new hires as well as the people who want to transition? Now, earlier, even if you take oil and gas or any particular domain, if you want to develop technology, you went for technologies. Now you don't. It's an AI has kind of level played. Anyone can do anything, right? And domain knowledge is absolutely key to succeed in the business. That means people with the domain knowledge can probably build better systems than a technology. So how do you see that? I asked 3 questions. One from what you look for in the new, when it comes to new joiners, and second is technologies, and the third one is domain aligned knowledge. How critical it is, and whether it's opening up doors for those who are in core engineering to move into a hybrid role as well.
Yeah. Excellent. So I think we always look for, if you think about how you would gauge somebody's expertise, the 3 things we look for, right? One is IQ, how smart the person is, right? And IQ, you're not going to test it directly, but you may give aptitude test. There could be some coding test. That is one part. And I think that is where AI is going to come and dominate, right? IQ, right now, the frontier models is as good as a PhD. So, see, when we grow up, right, we have to choose. You have to go to engineering, you have to go to medicine, a lawyer, right? Imagine you can be an engineer, doctor, lawyer, imagine any other, like a farmer, right? All in one person. That's what AI does, because it has learned from the knowledge, from the world knowledge, and I can ask, go solve a problem in chemistry or physics, and it'll do it, right? And this is where in the next by 2030 or 2035, what they're forecasting is artificial general intelligence, AGI, will be achieved. What AGI means is that AI can do the job of anybody who are very experienced, highly skilled, doing complex work. So that is, Sam Altman or Dario from Anthropic, they're all forecasting different, But 20, 30, 30, 35 in that range, you can think, right? So what that means, for us, right? Obviously, second point is EQ. IQ is gone, okay? Because, AI will do you don't have to learn physics, chemistry the way we did, right? But it's still important to have fundamentals. So you cannot take shortcuts on this. You still have to learn Newton's third law or, whatever. The fundamental is fundamentals, right? So when we hire, we want to make sure that they have the high GPA, have a very, very good IQ. But we know that AI will help in that area. The second is EQ, emotional quotient, right? This is where, how do you do sales? How do you do marketing, right? How do you talk in a human level? Because most of the time business gets done because who we know and how we connect with them. There's emotional connection, right? That AI will not tell you. If you're a salesperson, you still have to know how to close a deal. How do you play golf and make whatever? How are you going to close the deal? That is art. It is not science, right? The third is CQ, curiosity quotient. Are you curious enough? It's like we might end up we are getting into retirement age, but are you still thinking like a kid and asking the right questions, right? So the CQ factor is what I look for. Is that person who I'm hiring today constantly asking, why am I doing this? Can I do this differently? Just like a kid is saying, why is the sky blue, right? We lose that over time. And the CQ is a very big, aspect of how I can take a person and shape the person. Because I cannot teach them how to ask questions, right? We tell them, when they come to school and thing, they learn, but because the professor told what what that particular domain is. But are you curious? And CQ is something we don't do much. We need to do more of that, right? And again, AI will not be, you can, if you're curious, then you use AI to your advantage and be able to augment AI in how you do things every day and do more automation. So I look for more of that, from anybody who's coming into my team. From an experienced leader standpoint, like, if I had to look at my next level below, a vice president, senior director, directors, it is really, are they following they can simply manage people, right? That is okay. But are they introducing new ways of doing things? Are they challenging the status quo to change the process? Because sometimes they say, hey, this is how it works. I had to file a ticket, do this, but that doesn't go a long way with AI, right? So I look for leaders who can change the game and work with other people in a very collaborative way, because everybody has to come together to solve problem, right? That's where the EQ comes along. Because we will see that as you go experience, your EQ should be going up, where you are able to connect the problem very quickly. So in India we say jugaad, right? Can you quickly come up with a way to think about. So I look for that EQ and CQ, and who are also much more self-aware that they can now, hey, I'm not going to be the expert coming out of college, but I can use those folks effectively. So that's the name of the game now, how fast you can think about changing a problem and be able to use technology to help solve it.
So if I just switch the terms a little bit, you look for ICE, IQ, CQ, and EQ. So, okay. Since you mentioned about CQ, I just want to quickly share one experience of one of the interns. In my previous company, I was running a large, large internship program. We had about 50 odd doing internship at one batch. I was the coordinator managing that. They came from different campuses, but there was one young chap within third week of the internship. He found a problem which no one else thought. When it comes to clinical trials, you need to keep the medicines at different places at a particular temperature. And if there is a temperature mismatch, then it goes waste. And you are talking about millions of dollars going waste, right? And a person who is running the clinical trial needs to. This guy came up with an idea. Why are you having a backlog? Implement an IoT device-based monitoring and alert immediately. And he did a POC for one clinical trial site. Became a huge success. And they rolled it out globally across all the manufacturing plants and clinic. And he had an opportunity to meet the CEO in person. And then obviously that guy had excellent CQ and did his masters in the US, and now he's earning 450K or 500K in one of the leading tech company. So that's the point is, this curiosity quotient is very important, and it can come up from very young age. So coming to our next set of questions, when it comes to the common people, maybe if you take our participants here, when it comes to common people, what is that you feel, how AI can be leveraged, be it for day-to-day use or productive, how it can help them shape up in various aspects, and your advice, given we have three probably segments and maybe 6 generations seated here, right? So what would be your advice?
Yeah, I use 3 different AI tools every day. I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use Gemini, right? So 3 different, because every one of them have pros and cons. The way I use it is, right, even like if I have to come, say, to this session today, I can say, look, here is the audience. How do I engage with them, right? How do I get prepared? And same thing goes for if you're in sales. Because if you're going to compete with your, with the other companies, then you should know how do you compete on that particular client, right? So even every function, sales, marketing, every aspect of that is getting transformed, because now I immediately will get a set of questions to ask, or set of things to think about. Think about interviews. Interviews, as soon as you know that person is going to, who you're going to engage, you can put that in ChatGPT or Claude. You tell me, okay, for this personality and profile, how do I engage? What kind of questions I should ask, right? And they're doing the same, because I'm seeing that, they're also listing the, hey, for this, upload the resume into ChatGPT. Now tell me what questions I should ask this person. So so think about planning for a vacation. So I was going to Africa last year, and I just told what my goal is. I need to be here in these days. Optimize it and tell me where I should go first, which hotel I should take based on this budget, and it gives the entire itinerary for you, right? And so this is where we can benefit personally by, before we had to go to search engine, do a lot of search, connect all the searches. It takes a lot of time. Ultimately, AI should help save you time, so you don't have to do all the mundane, boring stuff, right? It gives you all this information on your fingertips. The third thing I use very heavily AI every day is health. I'm a runner. I run marathons. So every time I do a training, I say, I give, of course, you have to trust AI in some places. So I will give my data. Here is my, goal for this next 6 months. Tell me what I should eat, what supplements I should take, when I should take. Like morning, I will say, first thing I do is I make a ginger tea at home, and then I eat some nuts, and then I go for a run. So it'll tell you what sequence you should do, right? Again, AI is not perfect. AI will hallucinate. AI will give you wrong information, right? So you have to sometimes you have to verify that. So that's going to be, a little bit of continuous learning. And then same thing with financial planning, right? If you want to think about retirement, or, if you give your profile and you tell what are the options to get certain percentage return, I don't think there is any single area where you cannot use AI. When I go to shop, I take pictures of like if I go and say I want to buy these 3 chips, take 3 pictures, tell me which is the most healthy one. It'll give you the, immediately it compares and gives you the. Now, these are all, we are interacting with AI, right? This is chat model. What is changing is agents. Now, you will have agents that will do things on your behalf. So the thinking is every one of us in the room will have hundreds of agents in the next 12 to 24 months. You'll have an agent that is advising you on your health. When I wake up, what should be my yoga thing? How do I plan my day for fitness? It knows your sleeping pattern. It'll advise you, what to eat for lunch, for dinner, right? So that's the agents are telling you what to do. And you're going to see a lot of that come in. And then think about diagnosis. I've seen many people who actually went to doctors many times. They couldn't find the issue, but they uploaded the X-ray, the MRI scan. Immediately, they're able to get insight. So the healthcare is going to change significantly in the next 2 years. I think, we all don't want to go to doctor, right? Because, once you go there, they'll start writing every scans and every test to do. So you're going to see that, the healthcare getting transformed, including cancer, how you think about managing cancer and of course now you have DNA analysis. The only concern is, can you trust the company? If I give my data to Google or OpenAI or Anthropic, will they treat it like a personal data? And that will differentiate who you would trust, right? Because, if you think about two big companies, Google and Apple, who do you trust most? Apple. Because Apple said very clearly they're not going to monetize your private data. Google said, okay, I'm going to put ads based on what, immediately you go to Google, it knows exactly what you're shopping because it knows your email, it knows your, your habits, right? That's how they make money, right? Google's business model is based on the ad revenue. So you will see the next year or so, who will take that position to give you the private interaction. So I can freely upload my healthcare data, my diet, my diagnosis, all of that, and be able to get advice. I think, and especially think about in a country like India, 1.4 billion, not everybody has access to healthcare. So there is a lot of opportunity for companies to come up and say, how do I, without going to doctor, can I provide you the first advice, the diagnosis? Then, once you get to a certain point, of course, you have to go to the doctor and, right? So we're going to see that type of transformation happening in the healthcare. There's going to be huge changes happening in the travel industry, right? So every sector is going to get impacted. The sector that may be minimally impacted is things like service sectors, right? Like where you are, if you go to the hotel, if I go to Sarana Bhavan, I still need somebody to serve me. That the AI is not going to help me. AI will tell me what I do nowadays. I go to a restaurant, I take a picture of the menu, and say, tell me which I should order based on my diet. It'll recommend 1, 2, 3, right? But I still have to order it. So the guys who are serving they'll have a job, unless robotics come in and become robots to take the order, right? So the certain industry like physical security cannot change. Construction workers cannot change because you still have to go do the work. But anything that is digital oriented will be transformed in a very big way.
Thanks for that. Actually, that brought a couple of points. Actually, I was talking to one of our batchmates, and his son was doing a project, right? It's interesting you brought the hotel menu order. He built a system with his friend wherein you can order items on voice and get generation order, and it's very good for student population in hostels and all. Or if he's successful, he can take it to the next level and sell it to all these small scale players wherein any language, you can order in any language. If the menu's data is there, can be brought in it's probably a competition for Zomato, right? It's coming from a very young mind. And obviously, if you have robots which are interesting, you don't need physical labor in a hotel. Everything can be digital: payment, ordering, delivery of the order, all those things. And just a thought, but it's not a scalable approach. Maybe I'll ask one question and then we'll open up the question for the floor. Right? They can ask question. There is also a big messaging going around about AI is probably a bubble like a .com. There's a lot of investment happening when it comes to AI infrastructure, and a lot of layoffs are happening maybe due to the fact the first area they can focus is the personal cost, because the infrastructure, in order to put in OPEX, CAPEX, you need OPEX, and personal cost is one area the publicly listed companies can target. So that maybe there's a theory going on that's why a lot of layoffs is happening, because whatever is freed up is getting invested into your AI infrastructure. But at the same time, this week alone, Oracle lost 30% in spite of all the other things, because Oracle is investing heavily in AI infrastructure and a lot of new investment plans. So how sustainable is it? First question is AI a bubble, or is it going to be sustained, because it may reach a cliff and then the real transformation may happen? Or do you think we should be investing in Micron and Nvidia to make a good returns, right? Or should we advise, or is it probably a bubble? That's a general
You should
question.
ask ChatGPT that question. Where should I invest my money, right? But I think so. Okay, so like any other revolution that happened in the last 30 years, you think about internet revolution. We came from modem to fiber optics, right? So and then we went to mobile. Then we had cloud computing, right? Every one of them, there's always a hype, right? The hype leads the way. And similarly, AI, right now there's a lot of bubble being built because nobody wants to miss out. It's like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And right now the investors are pouring a lot of money because they don't know which company will survive. And so that's why, think about Anthropic. Anthropic, within 3 years, their annual revenue is $30 billion. Visa, we took 60 years to get to 30 or 40 billion. I mean, just compare how fast they're growing. So what is happening is, because of the fact that consumers and business is willing to spend money, so I spend $20 a month on ChatGPT and Gemini, because I want to know which one is good. Most people will not use $20 a month. They will go to free version. But the fact is, there are billion users using it in OpenAI, and business also wants to invest in AI because they don't want to be left behind. So the last 2 years, it was all about let's go figure out how to use AI. But now, CFOs are waking up. The chief financial officer is asking, what is the ROI? Right? Like, our spend, including in Visa, our spend grew literally 600-700% in the last 6 months because of everybody wants to use, tools like Claude. So suddenly now people are wondering, hey, how do I justify my investments in OpenAI? You know how OpenAI makes money? It's a concept called tokens. So every time I use ChatGPT or Claude, they charge me on the number of tokens I used. It's like cell phone, right? You have minutes. Here they use tokens. Our token usage is multi-trillion per month. And we were like in billions 6 months back. So we are seeing a very big exponential growth. So the token now going forward, it's about tokenomics. The economics is the tokenomics. You have to understand, for the tokens you're investing, are you getting the productivity? The reason why we are seeing layoff is because CFO said, look, if productivity is going up, why do we need the same number of people, right? There are 20%, 30% improvement in productivity. Do I need the same? So the two things, either I redeploy them in a different business and make more money, or they're not redeployable because they're not adapted AI, right? That's where you are going to see a difference. If whether it is a technology person or a business person, when they use AI and they can show that they can do more with AI, then they are adapting and they are able to keep up. For those folks who don't believe in AI, they say, okay, layoff comes up, they're in the list, right? So I think going back to the job numbers of it's 178 million new jobs, right? So this is what is going to happen is you're going to see some jobs will disappear, like similar to what happened with when cars were invented. The people who were driving the horse-based buggies, and they disappeared, right? But if they became a car driver, then they have a new job. So we're going to see that same thing happen here. But now the question really comes to financially, if I am spending X amount of dollars giving money to OpenAI, am I getting the return? And this is where CFOs haven't fully figured out. They're given a lot more leeway to the business to understand how to use this AI technology. So the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see, is the spend going to keep going up? The 30 billion revenue for Anthropic, is it going to be 60 billion or is it going to start tapering down? The other part is if there are newcomers, I know there's like new models like Sarvam. Sarvam is India-based model, right? If those come, then the money will shift to them. China, we haven't spoken about China. So China is investing heavily in AI. In fact, the number one threat to US is China because of AI. So, and China is going open source. They are actually giving for free. Take the DeepSeek model, is what they have. They're saying take it and run with it. You can use it for no cost. So that is being watched. If China starts putting in new models with no cost, imagine Anthropic and those guys charging $20 a month. They had to bring the price down to $5 or whatever, right? But today there is a gap between how intelligent Anthropic or ChatGPT model is compared to China model. But if the gap starts reducing to 10%, I'll say, okay, fine, 15%, I don't care about that because I don't need to be perfect. I'll go use something like a DeepSeek. So that is a dark horse we're watching, and this is why US is also worried from a national security standpoint. If DeepSeek is getting into US, will they start learning about US behavior, the privacy aspect? All of that is also being watched. So that's going back to what is is it a bubble? Certainly a bubble for now, but not as bad as what happened in .com. .com, people were getting investments without a product. They will show a PowerPoint and the venture capitalists are putting money. But now these are real money being generated, but they're giving higher multiples. For $30 billion company revenue, you're valuing at $1 trillion, right? You're looking at 30x or more. Typically, you give a 10x valuation. So that valuation will play out in the next 12 to 24 months. What is the other question you had?
What's your advice actually?
Oh, where to invest? Yeah. So if only we all knew, right? We have a crystal ball. I think there is still a very big demand on energy. We haven't, for all the things we want to do with AI, energy is a very key ingredient. So if you look at US total number of kilowatts of power, I think there are 2 trillion kilowatts. And they need like 4 to 5 trillion. If this rate of growth for data center, they need like double the energy usage. Same thing with, you mentioned investments here in Vizag. So if energy can be used as a differentiator, then you can attract investment. Because people want to, like Google or OpenAI, they want to put data centers where there's energy. So maybe, I know in India there's always energy shortage, right? But if you can change the policy with nuclear and other things, that can attract a lot of new investments. All of these NVIDIA GPUs are very power hungry. And number one, there's not enough chips to go around. So, even the inventory from NVIDIA is not, they're not able to maintain, because every time they issue chips, it's sold, right? Hardware companies still a good place to invest. The software companies are going for a toss, right? Because software, the idea of software no longer, I need to go to Microsoft or Salesforce or all the big, Adobe. They built it over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Suddenly they're looking at, hey, if I can create software so fast, why do I have to go to Microsoft? But if you have a hardware, like Cisco has network switch, so you're going to see a barrier to enter being higher for them. We call the moat, right? The moat, the differentiator. So that's why a lot of the software companies are getting impacted on the stock price, because it's easy to replicate software, but AI cannot replicate hardware, right? So I think most of the investments are going into companies which have a combination of software, hardware, and then chip companies like AMD, NVIDIA, and the energy, which is another area. If there are energy companies, they're also doing, they're doing well because there's a demand for energy, and that will be there for the next 2 to 3 years.
ASML, TSMC, Vertiv, GE, Vernova, and in our own India, Adani, and quite a few. So renewable energy things. So that's what you're saying. So thank you for all that nice discussion. Maybe open for question. Anyone, if you want to ask any question, yes. Can you use this here? Go around.
Thanks, Subra, for those points. You mentioned about within your own team where you're trying to leverage AI so that you can find vulnerabilities a lot more quickly, right? But if within the beyond the CISO aspect of it, do you see the IT function also adopting? Because you talked about CFOs giving enough of leeway for the teams to leverage AI so that they can improve productivity, etc. So when eventually the productivity improvement happens, there are two ways, right? One, there can be a reduction in headcount, or the organization finds new use cases where you can deploy your capacity and capability. So where do you see that trend moving? Will it be more towards the reduction in headcount, or do you think that the companies will find more use cases for deploying the internal capability?
Yeah, excellent question. So, we measure our impact using AI in two ways, right? One is, how does it impact the productivity of our developers who are writing software? Ultimately, I have to release a feature or a new product. So the time from the time you conceive an idea to time to releasing it to the market, if that was in weeks, can we do it in days, right? Now that cycle is getting compressed. So that is something, hey, I can show that last year I did 10,000 features. Now I can do 20,000 features for the same people with AI. So the velocity of releasing a new capability, a new feature, is getting compressed in a much shorter time frame. The second area we measure is customer impact. Now, customer is coming to me because I'm offering a service that is unique, and maybe it's better than MasterCard because we have better user experience, able to give more accurate data back. So we're looking at like as an example, customer service. So you're calling call center, you have a support issue, right? Now imagine, by the time you call, AI has already figured out your problem. It tells me, hey, what to tell you, right? Instead of waiting, putting you on hold, going through everything and understanding what the real issue is. So we are also looking at how do we measure the impact on customers. So I can measure it using NPS, Net Promoter Score, understanding how AI can, do a lot of that work. We're also looking at the number of steps it takes for a customer to get something done, right? Because imagine if you miss a flight and you want to change a flight. Now you call and they will say, do this, right? And then sometimes the number of steps could be, takes you 1 hour to get it done. Now I can get that in few minutes. So can I reduce the steps to get to where I want to go, right? The aspect of getting to the final resolution. So the impact there is really customer retention and be able to offer more services and more revenue, right, in some ways. And I'm also thinking that there could be new opportunities to even offer different product that you never imagined. And that is where companies will change the business models, right? If you look at Visa, our business model is very simple. We connect consumers to the merchants, to the banks. Visa network, right? And we have a percentage cut. If AI is going to do something that is fundamentally different, then I have to change the business model, right? So far, we are continuing to maintain our growth. We're growing at 15% a year. But now, if there's new use cases come along, we'll be able to use that and say, hey, now we should go to the new model. Think about what happened to Amazon. Amazon started as a bookstore, right? Back when they started in 2000. Now they are e-commerce giant. Not only that, they are now the biggest cloud computing vendor. They didn't even plan for it. They just they stumbled into the idea of, I have a lot of capacity that is unused, I can make it a cloud, right? So same thing is going to happen with, and this is where curiosity and be able to engage and experiment much faster will make a big difference.
One more question before I hand over. Do you see this adoption spreading beyond the IT space within Visa or any, when you talked about agents, agentic AI, etc., right? Do you see that traction picking up in the
Beyond technology?
Beyond the IT,
Beyond
IT function, be it in sales, marketing, or any other?
Yeah, no, so that for sure, right? Marketing is changing significantly. In marketing, how marketing is being done, even creating the collateral for marketing, all of that can be done much, much faster, right? I can now think about communications. You would have somebody who specializes in communication, who knows how to write document, create images, the branding, all of that. All of that is getting collapsed into AI. I can create a whole document within minutes. I don't need to go to my communication expert to do that, right? So anything that is content oriented in text, audio, video is completely getting or absorbed by AI. Finance, I think there is a concern around integrity of the data, because if someone I was talking earlier was saying that they used tax preparation that uses AI. Now, if I say, hey, I upload all my data to the tax preparation that is powered by AI, it tells me here's your tax due. How do you trust it, right? And this is where a lot of companies are coming to solve it with multiple models and giving you better results. But if you make a mistake, it could be a big mistake, right? It could lose money, or you're paying more taxes. So financial domain, they're a little more skeptical about it until, but it's coming, right? They will find a way to make it much more accurate. I'm much more optimistic about healthcare because of the fact that, AI is really good at all of the things you can be a doctor in general practice, heart specialist, lung specialist, all in one person, right? Because now, imagine today we go to multiple specialists to get information. AI will tell you, hey, here are the things you should think about, right? So I think healthcare is going to be a very big transformation, and travel industry will be, again, because of the fact AI is really good at figuring out how to organize yourself. So as an example, we had this one example where we said, okay, I have 1 lakh rupee budget for a vacation, right? You just say, tell me what, and you say, I want to go to these locations, right? It will give you everything, break it down. How much is the flight? How much is the hotel? How much is your food? And then it will tell you, here, go do all of these. And then it will tell you, oh, I can also do it for you. I'll buy the tickets for you. I'll go book a restaurant for you. It'll book your hotel stay. You just have to go follow the instruction, right? So I think that is also going to be a very big change. And payment, like because we are in payment industry, we're going to see some transformation there. So you will have your agent saying, say you're shopping for Diwali, right? You'll say, hey, look, I'm going to shop, if there is a sale and I need these 3 things, go buy it. If it is less than 1,000 rupees. If it is more than 1,000 rupees, you send me a message and I will tell you that to buy or not, right? So you're going to see these type of agents doing work on your behalf. And ultimately it should benefit you because, a lot of people get stressed, right, going shopping. So all of this will get much more easier. I don't think, like I said, majority of the defense is going to be a very big, change there too because of national security interest. Imagine that China has upper hand in the threat intelligence, and and this happened, right? If you imagine in the U.S.-Iran war, the threat intelligence played a very big role, but they also made a mistake. They bombed a school, right? Unfortunately, a lot of kids died. So AI cannot be, that is the reason why you need the guardrails to double check, triple check when you're making decisions that can impact masses,
One more question from me. Have you tried using like Fable 5, like the Mythos 5 thing? Like, did it give any security information about visa that you currently have? And one more, any advice for a startup of like 20 people, to a startup owner, what is the biggest mistake they should avoid going forward?
I'll just add, he manages a team of, a software company, 400 people here in Chennai. So his question has bearing on that. So he is hiding himself behind that startup company. He is the owner of the startup company.
Any biggest mistake that we should avoid, and your feedback about the Fable 5. Have you tried using it?
Oh, Fable 5 not yet available.
Yeah, like the Mythos. Yeah, the Mythos. Yeah, like they banned it within 3 days.
Right.
Yeah, like they banned it. Like US government banned it within 3 days.
So Mythos, I can. Is it? I hope is this recorded? Is Q&A is recorded? Yes. Okay. You may have to edit. So because of okay, I can tell you that.
My question is 2 questions. If I have time, I'll ask my second. I'll go to my first. If you look at the market now, market price, many IT services company, they continue to make good margin, good profit, and sale to book is also very good. For example, IBM, MNCs are no IPPs. But if you look at the share prices, they are one of the lowest in the last maybe about 5 years or 10 years. Okay. Then the question is, from your perspective, is the market overestimating AI's ability to replace IT services, or the investors correctly pricing in a structural shift? What should IT professionals like me or us, the companies do to stay relevant over the years?
Yeah.
And services companies start getting invested in NVIDIA and Microns. Because actually their stock price is like
$125.
2016 price actually.
Yeah, 10 years lowest.
10 years lowest. Yeah.
No, I think there was this whole idea of remember software as a service that includes companies like Zoho, Salesforce, Workday. All of these guys, they came up with the idea of I can have the same service for everybody in this room, and I can sell it, right? I don't have to customize the software. So that part is what AI is challenging. So they call it SaaSocalypse. SaaSocalypse was, if AI is so good at creating software, will it impact the margin? So, if you look at the industry, the highest margin business is software, 80% gross margin compared to any other industry. Services industry margin is 25%, right? Because you have to pay people, there's a salary, you have to pay them the benefits, right? So that, so there you measure on how many, like what is the dollar per employee? Can Accenture employee, one employee can bring $1 million, that's kind of the bar, right? And most companies will be $300,000, $400,000 range. So will AI be, is it over-indexing on, are we giving too much credit to AI? See, I think there is in the middle, right now the pendulum has swung to the other end. And it's saying, look, everybody's going to be impacted because of AI and the margin is going to come down crashing. Companies will create their own agents. They will not go to Salesforce or Zoho to create this. The truth is in between because every company is very unique in how they organize the business process, right? So AI is, think about the AI model. AI model was trained on public data. It doesn't know your inner working of your company. And this is where companies like Accenture will be able to come in and say, look, I can, for your healthcare or financial vertical, I can give you a customized way to use AI. Your strategy, how do you get more productivity? How do you increase your top line? All of that is where, companies like Accenture can do a big help, can enable the business. The other area we haven't touched upon is legacy. Companies are running software that is 30-year-old, SAP, Oracle Financials. These are all like 20, 30-year-old code, right? AI cannot quickly come and tell you, there is a better way to do it because that SAP or Oracle was customized for your environment. And until AI knows what the customization looks like and able to recommend a better way to do it, there's still a barrier there. And that's where agentic technologies will come in. Agents will now replace software as a service. See, why do I have to open a browser, go to a website, tell to find my sales quota? If agents are doing it automatically and telling me, hey, I haven't achieved the quota for the month and I should do it in a different way, I would not go to Salesforce, right? That's why the market is very skeptical about them. But the transformation will not, we always, what they say, we overestimate in the short term and underestimate in the longer term. So we are overestimating right now that AI will do the magic, right? And once the investors figure out quarter after quarter, you're doing better in terms of revenue and your margin hasn't been compromised, then they will turn around. Hey, it looks like, you're immune to some of these, right? So for now, they're throwing the baby out of the bathwater and saying, you'll be impacted. It's like you are guilty until you're proven innocent. So I'm going to give you, bad marks right away until you come and tell me you're going to be scoring A+, right? So even Visa, we have the, same, we deliver, quarter after quarter, right? But there's always a hanging concern around how is AI going to impact the business and so forth. I think they will turn around and say, look, your business is different than other business, and they look every business in a unique way. Did I answer the question? Okay.
Actually, marathon runner. He is also one.
And we can.
Hello. Yes, sir. Amritanathan, 92 batch. See, I think when we are talking about all these AI, I think needless to say LLMs, they are mostly of probabilistic models. So, and you are in one of the premier fintech area. So how do you, in general, not getting into the details, how do you decide upon a specific LLM to have a more deterministic mechanism by putting a guardrail in place? And how do you first of all decide, okay, because tomorrow, let us say, Google can come out with a better Gemini version, or even Gemma can be modified, or whatever it may be. So how do you, in general, from your experience, to decide a specific model, and how you go about deploying it in a large scale for a company like Visa?
Yeah, it's a really good question. AI, if you ask AI the same question 10 times, it may give a slightly different answer.
Correct.
right? Hence the probabilistic aspect.
Yes.
And especially think about financial. It is audited by auditors before you release the results. I cannot say I use ChatGPT to balance my books and I run this 10 times, I get 10 different results, right? It has to be deterministic. So there are new techniques that are evolving. One of the techniques is consensus building. So I will ask 3 different models. I'll ask ChatGPT, Gemini, OpenAI, and if the 3 of them agree, 2 out of 3 agree that this is the right thing, then you have a higher confidence, right? But if you need 100% confidence, then AI is not the right area for, to use that use case. So as an example, right, if a customer is calling into call center and saying there's a dispute, AI will, if it's hallucinating, if it is a smaller dollar, we're willing to take a risk, right? So I can say for the amount of savings I'm getting because of AI, it's okay to make some mistakes and I can absorb the cost, right? But if it is a high cost or a life or death decision, then I would be very, very careful to validate AI's output. Just think about drug dispensary. If I go to the hospital and I'm giving medicine and AI is saying something and that results in a fatality, then you're going to be held liable for that, right? So that's where regulatory guys will come in to figure out, hey, where do you want to use AI? The most of my AI use case is to remove a lot of the noise and busyness and let the human be more creative. So think about what is a good example here? In US, we have this DMV, which is equal to a license. You go if you want to get a car license, right? And they give you a runaround. They go here, 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 go then, right? So it's a very heavy process oriented. In that kind of environment, I want to use AI to simplify. See, if I can simplify that and I can get the job done in minutes instead of waiting for hours, it's okay to make some mistakes, right? And for those where I cannot take a chance and I want to be highly accurate and has regulatory issue or auditing issue, then I had to be extremely careful on how I'm able to validate. See, the idea is that the human will move to more creative work. Let all the non-creative, dirty, heavy lifting, let AI do it.
Monotonic work.
Yeah, monotonic, let that treadmill, right? What do I have to be in treadmill? I don't need to be, on Excel spreadsheet constantly. Let AI do that, and then I can think more of how do I get more revenue, how do I get a better user experience and so forth.
Even when it comes to the point about the mix of experts, there are companies which are leveraging agentic AI wherein they run the same thing and get the inputs and consolidate and produce a summary.
It's like a board of LLMs.
Board of LLMs.
LLMs. And
We'll
as a
open it
follow,
to youngsters to ask some questions.
please. Maybe one follow. See, I mean,
Just open it to youngsters to ask questions.
Regarding academic, also academician side. Somebody next generation.
We'll come to you before you leave.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Manoharan Saktivel, 94 Mechanical. It's good that my second daughter scored 100 out of 100 in 10th. Now she's studying in artificial intelligence. She's studying +2. What is the course you should study after +2 to become expert in AI? Is the question not clear? Should I repeat it?
So once you go from, you're saying higher secondary to college?
Yeah, college. What course could be the right one for her to become expert in AI?
Yeah, I think math is going to be very key. Mathematics, right? The foundation will not change. See, we still have to solve for other things apart from AI. There's quantum coming up, quantum computing. You need to know physics. Because quantum is all about atoms and how do you keep that in certain state, right? So the STEM education, which is mathematics and the science, is very key. That's why, see, we're not compromising on getting students who are really good at the foundation. The fundamentals will matter. Say if I graduate with even physics degree or math degree, can I adapt to a new innovation? That is what colleges don't teach. See, colleges are really good at teaching you the fundamentals, right? But tomorrow I have AI comes up with a different way of doing it. Can I rethink how I do the curiosity factor? So I would not worry too much about if you have opportunity to do like data science, knowing the machine learning, those type of foundation is heavily focused on statistics, right? AI itself. The rest is really how fast you can change and adapt to the new environment. Whether you are in pharmacy, healthcare or financial vertical, right? How do you apply that is what I would look for. And also if I choose a university, I would look for, are they giving you the right hands-on, access to AI models, be able to experiment faster. The mode of teaching has to change. We cannot simply sit behind the textbooks. It has to be a little more of interactive way of doing things. But if people start moving away from fundamentals, when they come out of college, right, they won't be able to think creatively. So I think the creativity is going to be very key for all of us to survive, right? And be able to say 1 + 1 = 2, connecting the dots. That you have to have the right environment in the university, and so that they can experiment and learn and be much more of AI native.
Thank you.
Just to add, the Anthropic CEO, he studied physics and biophysics. Dario Amade. So a lot of people, who are CEOs and top techies are not, computer science. And even Dr. Norton was actually a doctor. You must have heard about Dr. Norton's antivirus. He was actually a proper doctor.
Thank you, Subra, for your great insights. You talked about agents, and everyone will have like hundreds of agents acting on behalf of us, and also some of them can be doing things autonomously. So my question is, and also you mentioned about we should have the right guardrails to ensure that it does the thing that it should do and not anything else. So how do you think the access models will evolve?
So it has to have identity. And identity means like that person, like similar to we have date of birth, we have our characteristics, right? That they identifies who you are. We call the birth rights. Similarly, every agent will have an identity, and that will have a access control around it, right? So as an example, if I say I'm going on vacation, I have 1,000 rupees as a budget, and if it goes, within that 1,000 rupees and able to get something for you, you know that the guardrails are working, right? And then you also have to say if the agent is coming from a bank, ICICI or some trusted entity, then they know that if they make a mistake, they will stand behind it. So like we said the same, Visa, we have policy. If customer has a dispute, we will cover up to $50 in US, right? If somebody cheated them, some scam happened, right? So then customers are much more comfortable that, hey, if I use a Visa agent, then Visa will stand behind it and you will get the money back. So the trust is going to play a very big role, and same thing will happen. Similar, you think about all the scams happening today, right? They were asking for OTP, this and that, right? So same thing is going to happen to agents. Which agents are going to be certified? And sometimes RBI might come in and say, are you, guardrail proofed? Making sure that you're not going off the guardrail and doing purchases that you never thought about buying. So we have a notion called blast radius. When you blast something, right, so the blast radius has to be limited. If it makes a mistake, it can fail, but it's not costing you 1 lakh damage, it's costing you 1,000 rupee damage, right? So that's where, there will be companies who are certifying it. whether you trust it, are you going to trust Flipkart versus some small guy giving you an agent, which is asking for money, right? So you're going to see that differentiator that'll come in, and eventually customers will get comfortable, right? Like using your iPhone or Android, you know which app to trust, which app you cannot trust, where you will give your personal information, where you won't. All of that will happen next. It's still in early days, and I think there will be definitely a role government will play to figure out how do you make sure you protect consumers.
That's a follow-up question. So do you see any new access model being coming up to handle this scenario, or will you be continuing with the existing access models?
No, definitely there'll be a new model. The reason being that the access control was designed for humans, right? Now non-human is coming in making decision on your behalf. So you have to now say how much privilege you want to give, right? Hey, this agent can only do this for you. It can go buy tickets, but it won't be able to interact with your doctor, right? So that type of privilege management will be, very specific to how you would delegate it. Okay. It's like when you drive a car and you want to go to valet parking, the guy can drive the car, but may not be able to open the trunk. Right. Same concept will happen. You'll have to specifically delegate what you want that privileges look like, and it'll do things on your behalf.
Okay. Have you seen any products already doing this?
Yeah, there are a lot of companies come in the space, in the IAM space, but there could be unique opportunity for certain type of verticals, right? Like because access could be different for different, like healthcare versus manufacturing. But I know for a fact that a lot of companies trying to solve for it.
Thank you.
Last question from me.
Yeah, I will not take it. It's 8:30. Ramakrishnan, 86 Mechanical, sir. Thank you, Subra. Marine Engineering faculty. So I will be attaching sir, the same question, but I will be. All Indian universities are equipped with since you are coming for all campuses and all. In 1982 when we joined, there was not a single person for chemical. Professor Guruswamy was telling they take this, so 7 candidates only selected. So like that everybody should take AI or our syllabus curriculum and all is equipped, since you have been going all around the world also, how India is behind, still we are coping up with the education system in training, and mechanical students, they always ask what is your elective, so elective is enough, everybody should take only AI, everybody is going there, so how we will be taking it?
No, I think India, I know we have a very big office in Bangalore, right? And I can say that they have really adapted and jumped into AI very fast. I think that's the nature of our, Indians. We know how quickly we see where the money is and we try to adjust ourselves, right? So I think that's a level playing field globally. Everybody has figured out how to use AI in different ways. Universities, I don't know how much access they give to students because it's expensive. The AI tokens are not cheap. But a lot of the companies are opening up to universities. Like I think Google, they will give certain credits. I'll give you, $1 million for your university. So they get used to Gemini versus you getting used to OpenAI, right? But I don't know whether they're changing the way the curriculum. Because that's where, if you're doing mechanical, you still have to use the physics and, the foundation is not going to change, right? But the AI can help with other aspects of mechanical. So you have to have augmentation, some level of elective augmentation. So when you come out of the college, you can say, hey, there's a CAD design. Can I quickly use AI to tell me, is it, doing the right thing or not? And then I can apply my foundation to, do more, right? So it's like internet. You cannot escape AI. The question is the university giving the opportunity and exposure for them to experiment? I think that will differentiate, like labs. So remember in CIT when we used to go to the lab, they only limit, based on how many, you need access to it. Now with AI, if you don't do it, you will become irrelevant. So you have to open up to everybody and say, go for it. And if you don't do that, other universities like IIT and others may give better access, right?
3D printing also I have been in the marine industry.
And by the way, the other thing is, there's no need to wait for OpenAI or ChatGPT, or Anthropic. There are models that are available freely. These are like Mistral, Open Router, Mistral. These are all new models which you can run it. It's good enough. But if you know how to use those models, when you go out to industry, they may have access to better models, right? But the foundation is same. So I think that a lot of this will have to be encouraged as a, hey, go down, and also the computing power of the computer, like a Macintosh, like a MacBooks, they are getting really good. So you can run it locally. You don't have to go to cloud computing anymore, right? So like the latest models from Apple, they have GPUs built into it.
But there are aftershocks, right? For the last 48 hours, there has been a huge shock in prices getting spooked heavily.
Oh, the MacBooks?
Yeah, MacBooks now cost almost
because of the open cloud and the Macs, they stopped the manufacturing. Once the open cloud came and we became a trend, a lot of people started buying Mac minis and it went out of stock.
And an M5 Pro, which I ordered 2 weeks back, and I was not still getting it. Then I thought something is going on. The moment now the guy tells that you pay me 4.5 lakhs and then you can get a M5 Pro with a 64 GB.
Thanks to all the AI infra,
boom, which is
all the memory devices.
memory devices.
There's a huge supply demand issue, right?
Yeah. See, last word about prompt engineering.
Yes.
Engineering.
Oh, prompt engineering.
Yeah, the question, sorry.
Thank you, Subra, for all your insights. Based on the tokenomics, I see a new role coming up, which is called CTO, which is Chief Token Officer. Just the question I want to ask is, how do you really measure the ROI of an AI implementation on a practical thing like, from a Visa, AML, or any of those things, right? Because some of them could run deterministic models or anything versus AI. You can run pour millions and millions into it, but how do you really look at the ROI? How is Visa doing?
Yeah, what we have done is, right, we have created the router model you're referring to. We have access to 8 to 10 different models. That includes all the cloud-based models like OpenAI, Gemini, and then we also have open source models like Meta, Llama 3, right? All of these. And what we are saying is we want to marry the right use case to the right model. So today, if you give it to free, they'll only use Claude, right? Because that's the most powerful model right now for developers. So we are now changing the way models can be used, and we have created an abstraction layer, like a layer that is internal to Visa. And when you connect to that, it will tell you, hey, for this particular non-production application, try a model that is more cost effective, right? And then when you go production, we can actually, wire it to a different model based on the efficacy, the benchmarks. The benchmarks are coming up every day to show how the models are performing. So having a control over what models are being used by the developers and businesses will make a big difference. But if you start going directly to these models, then it will be hard for them to redirect. So having a central layer within the company that abstracts, and then it routes the access to different models, right? So you go and say, hey, I want to use this, here's my prompt, tell me what the response is. The router will decide which model to go to based on the type of use, the environmental variables and other information that we pass. That's how we are looking at it, right? But there are always going to be new use cases where we have to, like Mythos comes along, we have to experiment with it, and there we limit access based on the type of use cases. And then once we understand the value, then we can say, here is your quota for the month. But this is a very big topic amongst the startups. Should you go all in with the token? They call token maxing, right? every employee was given $100,000 or $250,000 worth of tokens. But it doesn't make sense, right? If the employee salary is only 100,000, why would I give $100,000 worth of tokens? I would give $10,000 worth of tokens so I can get 2x 200,000 worth of output. So this is right now this is an opportunity for also for entrepreneurs. It's like a spot price. So I want to buy the best oil price in the market. I want to say who will give me the best oil price, and then I go to that company on that day, right? Because they have excess inventory. Same thing is going to happen with tokens. It'll become a spot price. Hey, this company for today they have excess tokens. They're willing to drop the price, and it's as good as this model, the other model I'm using. But it may not be 100% close to it, but I can actually still live with it. So you have to know what are the use cases that you're willing to go to a different model, and then buy that tokens based on that pricing at the time.
In terms of seamless mobility, I cannot change an architect or designer big way, right? So that poses a possible governance challenge. I cannot change from Claude to Claude for phase 1 to phase 2.
So there is a whole engineering called harness engineering. So in harness, you design it in a way it is model agnostic. So like sometimes you use Opus, sometimes you use Sonnet, sometimes you use Gemini Flash Pro, right? So now the output may be slightly different, and that's where it matters to benchmark it and understand, hey, is it going to have a hallucination effect or the accuracy aspect? But you have to have a chief token officer. You need to have like chief observability officer who can observe the output, come up with different ways to advise. So this is the new kind of jobs. The new kind of jobs is how do I optimize?
Chief Harness Officer.
Yes, Chief Harness Officer, right? And then you can advise and say, because if I can save my company, $10 million, then I should be rewarded for that, right? So this is where I think the new kind of roles will come. How do I, for my budget I have, how do I get the most from AI? I think that could be a very interesting problem for entrepreneurs.
One last question, and he'll be available here.
We will just have one more question because already we are running late. With permission from Mr. Subri, we will share his mail ID. Some of you still keen, you can send him a mail, and at his convenience, he will reply.
Hi Subra, myself Somesh, and I am a passed out from 2024 BE Mechanical, and I am planning to pursue my masters at NIT Tirchi in the domain of manufacturing. So carrying forward, like you can give me some insights on doing my final thesis of the second year in my masters, and I aspire to join the aerospace industry. Like how AI will be reliable in calculating the trajectory of satellites and launch vehicles. Even the current scenario, many missions have got failed due to even in human calculations. Moving forward in the future, how we can have a prospect of AI giving the accurate solution.
I think that's an excellent field, right? The aerospace is the next frontier. We think about SpaceX, it just went public and they're already 2.5 trillion. And it also, there's less of AI will always play a role, but it's hard to replicate rockets and how you come up with a design. And you still have IP, intellectual property on how, SpaceX has done excellent, right? You think about all the rockets that lands back on the, on the pad. So manufacturing is going to be one of the big area of focus for the next area. Like what happened in computer science, the mechanical manufacturing, there's a lot more barrier for AI to come and making, take away jobs. Robotics may be the solution there, because it may be cheaper to have robots doing certain things, but still somebody has to design the robots. So you have, robotic engineering is going to be a very big focus. You're saying looking for a thesis, or you said
for my masters, you can just give me some short points on how can like integrate AI and smart manufacturing into my thesis.
Yeah, I think you should go use AI to get some more ideas too.
One thing I heard is you have the AI data centers, they tried in the land, they tried underwater. Now there's a concept of having the data centers in space, just like
Starlink.
So that's an evolving field that came up. So
Yeah. By the way, I think thermodynamics, if you remember in mechanical, right, it was a very tough subject. But all of that is now coming to be the core. Going back to putting a data center in the space, the biggest problem is cooling. Because in space, it's extremely hot or extremely cold. Right? And imagine all the NVIDIA GPUs on the space, and it has to, be cool, right? So during the day where sun is, it's very high temperature. So cooling technology is going to be very big focus. So the science, that's what I'm saying. The foundation is still going to be there, right? You need to know thermodynamics. You need to know the physics, and that will play a big role. How you shape space, how you shape manufacturing, robotics. I can talk to you offline about a project.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I think we'll wind up the questions, and anything else, we will share the mail IDs of Subri and Kalilur. You can write to them. One thing we missed out was handing over a small memento to Kalilur. I request our Arul 84-4. Arul is the country head and director in Kobelco. I will just give a memento to Kalilur.
And by the way, Kalilur, really prepared for the last few days, and we had close to 20 questions. We only touched about 4 or 5. So we'll have to have part 2 and part 3.
Now, heartening to see good response. So we'll follow this up with more programs. Now, our president would like to speak for a minute.
Very quick minute for the youngsters, those who are here. The next half an hour to 1 hour during dinner, feel free, relaxed, and shake hands with to whomever you can. Just shake hands and speak. And also for some of the 2000 batches, 97, 90 batches, 90 plus batches, again shake hands with everyone who's there, senior, and introduce yourself. That's how you come to know. I'm telling you with pride, I know almost about out of 900 plus members, I know about 500 plus members personally. I have the numbers recorded in here because I go to see to that. I go all this kind of small get-togethers in the last 3-4 years. I never missed anything in all the movie shows. So this is there, with less than 100 gathering, you come to know all big shots of CIT alumni. They are all hidden here. Okay, all the best. Have a great evening. Once again, Ramesh and I will give a word of thanks.
Before vote of thanks, 2-minute talk by Sampath, our main coordinator for the walk and run event.
So thanks to our president, we have initiated this Sit Fit, CAT being fitter, healthier, stronger. Last year we launched the 5-kilometer fun walk run event in Besant Nagar. So we opened that for the our lifetime members. We got with a good response. So we decided to extend this for the second year as well. Now we are making it bigger. We want all our LTMs to bring their family, their spouses, the son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, and the grandsons, right? So and daughters. So we announced this event a few weeks back. So the event is going to happen Sunday, the 9th of August, 2026. The venue would be at Besant Nagar, one of the corporation ground. We all got all necessary police permissions, corporation, the route mapping, etc. So this year we are going to inviting all the more family members. We are expecting about close to 300 possibly. So far, we got the registration of close to 50 members. It's a very, very low number. So we request, I think we have distributed this pamphlet to each one of you. We also distributed that to the few weeks back, the movie event. We got about 55 registrations so far, and no, we want more participation. And no, this event we are giving is a small prize for registration. And no, we are providing a CAT CITAS CC T-shirt. The designing is in progress. And we are also providing a medal and of course the dinner, the breakfast, and all the hydration support, the route volunteering, everything would be there. Yeah, and also as a one more point, Subra is here. He is an avid marathoner. I just got to know. If you have opportunity, please encourage and also appeal to our community here. We have budgeted about close to 2 lakhs. Yeah. So though we are collecting some 500 rupees per member as charges to part fund that budget. But if any one of you interested to sponsor for some of the activities, we welcome you all. Under the know, if you want to take it continuously for the coming years to become sit fit. Always we say that age is just a number for us. So thanks.
Thank you, Sampath. It's a formal word of thanks. I thank Mr. Subra Kumaraswamy for having taken his time and be with us today. It's a very enlightening session. Of course, some of us, we are learning the spelling of artificial intelligence now, at least people like me. So we are not techies. So thanks, Kalilur. There is no better person than Kalilur in our group to do this event. Thanks, Kalilur. Thank Mr. Subbu, our past president, for arranging Presidency Club dinner, everything. He is the man for all Presidency Club. We call Mr. Subramaniam and he will do everything for us. Thanks for all the EC team and the entrepreneur membership help team to help us in this event. Thanks Balamurugan and Arul for helping us doing the honors for the chief guest and Kalilur. So that's what. So we'll meet in the next event. Till then, bye and a big thanks. Now the drinks and dinner is open. So the true TST style. Thank the Patrika team, Karnan, and the photographers. Karnan has been a great source of support for us. And see the nice backdrop. It was done in a record one-day time. So thanks, Karnan, for this wonderful piece of work.